The wind howled across the frozen plateau, a relentless force slicing through even the thickest armor. The girl was dragged behind them, her wrists bound, her boots slipping in the snow. 3 hunters from the Krell Dominion marched ahead, towering reptilian bipeds with thermal armor and pulse rifles slung over their backs. They didn't speak to her, not in words she could understand. She hadn't said a word since they pulled her from the wreck. They had found her half buried near the ruins of a human outpost, the only sign of life amid blackened walls and scattered bones. She was unconscious at first, barely alive, and when she woke, she didn't scream or beg. She simply stared. One of them, Vorax, said she had the eyes of a predator. The others laughed it off. She was just a human teenager, barely out of childhood. Nothing dangerous, nothing worth fearing. Her lips were blue from the cold, her skin pale. Still, she kept pace. No dragging feet, no complaints. The hunters had brought down armored apex predators on ice worlds worse than this. They considered themselves apex among apex. This girl? A trophy for interrogation or experimentation. Maybe she'd fetch a good price in the backwater slave circuits. Vorax kept glancing over his shoulder. She disturbed him, not because of what she said. She hadn't spoken. It was how quiet she was. She didn't ask questions. She didn't cry. Even the strongest prisoners broke in the cold after an hour. She had been out here for 4. The snow fell heavier, weighing on their gear. Vorax muttered about stopping to rest. Their leader, Kron, waved him off. Let the cold weed out the weak. Her head tilted slightly at that, as though she understood. But she kept walking, her breath shallow but steady. Her coat, if it could be called that, was thin, scavenged from scraps, with rips and holes near the shoulders. Her boots didn't match. One was too big, the other too tight. Still, she didn't stumble. She didn't ask for help. They paused near a jagged ridge where the wind broke slightly. Kron yanked her forward and threw her down. She landed hard, but didn't cry out. Vorax crouched, scanning her vitals again. Her heart rate was stable. Too stable. This one's weird, he muttered. No tremors. No elevated cortisol. Kron snorted. Genetic fluke. Lucky spawn. The third hunter, Jex, leaned on his rifle and chuckled. Humans die easy. Just takes time. But time was running strange. Kron checked the sky. Snow clouds blocked visibility, but he swore the sun hadn't moved. They'd been walking longer than expected. Their HUD clocks jittered. Glitches. Static. The girl finally shifted. Her head turned slowly, eyes locking on Vorax. Almost there, she said. A whisper, but clear. He froze. What did you say? She said nothing more. He grabbed her arm, rougher now, trying to provoke her. Where are your people? She looked up again, unblinking. Closer than you think. Jex sneered. She's bluffing. All humans bluff. It's how they cover up their fragility. Kron leaned down and growled. You're not in a position to bluff. Still, she said nothing. Vorax pulled a small scanner from his belt and passed it over her neck. It beeped. A signal, faint but there. Embedded chip. He tapped a command. A hologram flared. A flash of registration data. But the name didn't match any civilian logs. Kron stared at the ID readout. Designation. Frostfawn. That got their attention. Vorax's eyes narrowed. That's a call sign. Military. She's a kid. No. Look at the rest. Special Response Unit. Terra Command. She's not a civilian. She's Black Ops. Jex scoffed. Propaganda. Earth likes big names. Big ghosts. Then why does the name show up on Krell internal alerts? Vorax barked. That tag triggered a classified ping. Level 7. Kron took a step back, slowly. 7? That's containment level clearance. The girl slowly reached under her coat. No one stopped her. They were too stunned. She pulled out a chain. Dog tags. Burnt edges. Scorched steel. The letters were faded, but readable. Kron read them aloud. Evers, L. R. Unit. Frostfawn. Designation. TCM SR 1071. She let the tags dangle in front of them. Left me in the snow, she said, voice like ice. Took too long to come back. Jex raised his rifle instinctively. Kron held out a hand. Don't. Not yet. Vorax's mind raced. The Frostfawn project, wasn't it terminated? No, Kron said. It vanished. Scrubbed from the archives. She's too young. Or bred that way, Kron interrupted. Engineered. Conditioned. They stared at the girl. She sat still, hands folded, like a statue carved from frost. She's bait, Vorix whispered. She wanted us to take her. A sharp crack echoed in the distance. Not thunder. Not wind. Something else. The hunters stood. The girl smiled, lips cracked and bleeding. Took you long enough, she murmured. Their heads snapped toward the ridge. Shapes moved in the storm, and she was no longer cold. The snow deepened as the group pressed forward, boots crunching into layers of ice. The wind had shifted directions twice, but the girl never stumbled. One of the hunters, Jex, began to limp, muttering curses about the temperature and footing. Still, the human walked steadily. No food, no water, no visible fatigue. They watched her differently now. Vorix walked closer, peering at her face. She had a faint scar running from jaw to ear, nearly hidden by her tangled hair. It wasn't a civilian's wound. Not accidental. Surgical. Deliberate. He narrowed his eyes, but said nothing. A tension settled over them like the cold. She whispered again, this time louder. A string of numbers. Jex barked at her to shut up, but Vorix waved him off. He ran the numbers through his neural HUD. Coordinates. They matched the crash site's distress signal, but reversed. Inputted backwards, they pointed not to the wreckage, but to an orbital vector. A launch or a beacon origin. He glanced at Kron, who nodded. Something didn't fit. They stopped near a crag where the cliffs cut wind. Jex kicked her down onto the frozen ground, cursing again. She's freezing. Let her talk, or let her die. Kron bent down and tugged at the chain around her neck. It had slipped from under her coat. Dog tags. He yanked them free and examined them. Frostfang, he read again, this time aloud. Didn't believe me the first time, she said calmly. The silence that followed was heavy. Vorix turned the tags over. Behind the stamped serials, something else was etched in by hand. Cold endures. Cold kills. His pulse quickened. He accessed a secured Krellnet channel and searched the designation again, deeper this time. His access was denied. 3 attempts later, a hard lock hit his console. Red warning symbols flared. No warnings. No logs. Just total shutdown. Kron noticed. What happened? Vorix didn't answer immediately. That name isn't just flagged. It's quarantined. Blacklisted across Central Command. No explanation. Jex scoffed. Could be a forgery. She's a teenager, Kron snapped. No primitive forger plants ID tags that crash command systems. The girl spoke again, softly. You're not the first to take me. Jex spat. You're the first we'll break. Her eyes met his. You won't even leave this mountain. Kron moved away from the group, checking the horizon through enhanced optics. Nothing but snow. Still, his gut churned. He'd led over 50 missions against hostile species, some intelligent, most not. None had felt like this. The silence was too complete. The storm too static. The cold wrong. He turned back. We move. Now. As they resumed walking, the girl didn't resist. But she began humming. A low tune. Monotone. Familiar, somehow. Jex shoved her. Shut it. But Vorix recognized it. A Terran distress tone. A signal. Patterned. He yanked his sidearm. She's pinging someone. Kron snapped his rifle up. Scramble frequencies. It was too late. A high-pitched feedback pulsed through their earpieces. Static, sharp and rising. Their HUDs blinked, one by one, black. Jex stumbled, growling. We're jammed. Every band. Vorix ripped open a portable relay. The screen glitched, then displayed one message in block letters. Locked. The girl exhaled slowly. It started. Kron grabbed her by the collar. Who is coming? She looked up at him, unblinking. Not who. What? He felt his grip tremble. She wasn't acting. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't lying. Jex started pacing, pulse rifle twitching in his hands. This is bad. She's linked. AI maybe. Covert command. Kron barked. Get her under. The ground shook. Just slightly. A tremor, short-lived. They froze. Nothing followed. But something had changed. The storm no longer moved. Snow fell straight down, no drift. No sound. Vorix checked his thermals. Readings are flattening. Even the wind's gone dead. The girl stood upright now, without being pulled. Her cuffs weren't cut, but they no longer seemed to restrain her. Kron noticed and raised his rifle. "Last chance," he growled. "What's going on?" She answered without flinching. "You're on a dead channel. Nobody's coming for you." He hit her with the butt of his weapon. She dropped to one knee, but rose again, unfazed. Vorax hesitated. "Don't," he said softly. "She's not bait. She's the signal." Jex turned on him. "What the hell does that mean?" "She's not tracked. She's tracking. We didn't find her. She let us find her. That ship, that wreck, it wasn't a crash. It was a lure." Kron turned toward the girl, suddenly less sure of anything. "What are you?" She finally smiled. "Collateral." Another tremor. Louder. This time, a crack echoed across the ice. A distant mechanical sound, like engines spinning up. Kron turned toward the direction of the noise. For a second, he saw something massive far off in the white. A shadow. Then it vanished. Jex panicked and fired a shot into the snow blindly. Kron grabbed him. "Hold your fire." Vorax stepped away from the girl and spoke low. "There's a reason the call sign got buried. There's a reason the Dominion doesn't talk about Terra Command." The girl closed her eyes and finished the tune she had been humming. When she opened them, her irises had changed. No longer hazel, but white and glassy, like frost over steel. "You thought I was prey," she whispered. "You never saw the teeth." Kron issued orders through clenched teeth, his voice hoarse and low. "Circle formation. Watch all directions." Jex and Vorax moved without argument, nerves raw. The girl remained at the center. Still bound. Still calm. The snow had stopped falling, but the air was heavier, like a storm held its breath just out of sight. Kron couldn't shake the sense that every move they made was already anticipated. Vorax tapped his neural interface again. Nothing. Still blacked out. No uplinks. No pings. No orbital support. Even local comms were silent. Were cut off in full. Like the whole mountain's a blackout dome. Kron grunted. Could be environmental. Could be tech. Either way, she knew. Jex kept his rifle trained on the girl, finger hovering over the trigger. "Let me shoot her. End this." "No," Kron snapped. "Not until we understand what she's done." The girl tilted her head. "You can't end what's already been set in motion." Vorax spoke quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "She's not operating alone. Not possible. She's the delivery system." Kron's jaw tightened. "For what?" The girl's smile returned, but it didn't reach her eyes. "For the consequence." Movement to the east, just a flicker. All three hunters turned. Jex fired instinctively, but the blast vanished into the white. No impact. No target. Then, something answered. A screech. Metal over ice. Synthetic. Wrong. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't alive. Kron recognized it a second too late. Drones. Not standard issue. Not Krell. Not human. Black shell constructs, moving like shadows, heatless, silent. The first emerged without warning. Then a second. Then more. Jex opened fire. Vorax followed. Kron stepped back to cover the girl, driven by reflex more than logic. The drones didn't rush. They advanced with a surgeon's precision. Tactical. Calculated. Each shot from the hunters dropped one. But more emerged. The girl didn't flinch. They don't stop. They don't retreat. They're not here for you. Kron turned on her. "Then who?" "They're here for me. But you're in the way." Vorax backed up slowly, reloading. "This was an extraction." "No," she replied. "This is a containment." Jex cursed and adjusted his aim. "That's not extraction protocol. They're trying to isolate the site." Kron grabbed the girl's shoulder. "What are you?" She looked him in the eye. "I was the prototype." Vorax froze mid-fire. "Project Frostfawn." They said it was shut down. They said the test subjects died in cryolock. They didn't all die. She looked past him. But they all broke. Kron's eyes narrowed. "Except you." The girl nodded. "I didn't break. I adapted." The drones closed in. Shots rang. The hunters held formation, but their position was crumbling. Kron growled. "We can't hold this." The girl turned to him. "You can't. I can." Jex fired again, hitting two more drones, but his weapon flashed empty. He tossed it aside and pulled a sidearm. "I'm not dying for some experiment." "No," she said calmly. "You're dying because you underestimated Earth." Vorix hesitated. Why didn't they recover you? She looked at him. They knew I'd come back. Kron fired again, watching the rounds vanish into a wall of black and chrome. He turned to her. You knew this would happen. I hoped, she said softly. But I didn't count on it. He studied her, understanding dawning slowly. You weren't trying to escape. You were buying time. She nodded once. Time for the system to align. Time for the cold to activate the dormant layer. Vorix's eyes widened. You're not broadcasting. You are the signal. She nodded again. I was made for environments like this. My biology, my implants, they only come fully online when the conditions are met. Sub-zero. Isolated. Monitored. You did exactly what you were supposed to. Kron's voice lowered. We were the test. No, she replied. You were the ignition. More drones dropped from the sky now, silent and precise. They encircled the hunters completely. One aimed its weapon at the girl and paused. She raised her hand. The drone froze, then redirected its aim at Jex. Kron blinked. You're controlling them? She shook her head. Not control. Influence. Jex tried to fire, but the drone moved faster. A flash. Then silence. Jex dropped. Vorix's face went pale. What the hell are you? Collateral, she repeated. A response unit designed for total denial. When they couldn't reach the front, they left us behind. One per zone, one per biome, buried and waiting. Kron clenched his jaw. What triggered you? She looked at the sky. Krell boots on sacred ground. Kron realized the larger truth. There were never survivors. Not from the outpost. That wasn't a failed evac. That was a controlled loss. She nodded. Calculated risk. I was the insurance policy. The drones moved closer, now standing still. Waiting. Vorix raised his weapon again, hand trembling. We're not enemies of Earth. This wasn't war. It was salvage. The girl tilted her head. Intentions don't absolve violation. Kron lowered his weapon. Then what now? Her voice was cold and even. Now I remove the breach. The drones began to hum, a resonance that made the snow itself tremble. Vorix ran. He didn't make it far. The drones moved as one. Kron didn't move. He stared at her, breathing slowly. They'll send more after you. She nodded. They'll try. But the data is already gone. I was never meant to leave. He blinked. You're going to die here? No, she said. I'm going to finish here. Then she turned, and the drones followed. The wind returned, but not the storm. Just a cold drift that carried silence across the snow, like the world was holding its breath in the aftermath. Kron stood alone, the last of the three. Jex was gone, atomized in a flash. Vorix, taken apart without resistance, not even time to scream. Only Kron remained, weapon lowered, pulse steady, mind racing through every tactical protocol he knew. None of them applied here. The girl, Evers Frostfang, whatever her true designation was, walked ahead, drones pacing with her like ghosts. Kron didn't follow. He knew he wasn't a threat. He wasn't even a variable anymore. He was excess data, logged, and soon to be discarded. She stopped without turning around. You're still alive because I let you be. Kron didn't respond at first. He was studying her back, her stance. No aggression, just finality. Why, he asked. Why let me see this? She answered without emotion. Someone has to report it. He frowned. You think the Dominion will believe me? No, she said. But they'll react. He stepped forward a pace. You want retaliation? I want acknowledgement, she said flatly. I want them to know that Earth doesn't forget. That the ghosts they created aren't gone. They're waiting. Kron felt the weight of her words more than the meaning. Something about the certainty in her voice cut deeper than any threat. Is that all this was? A message? No, she replied. It was proof. He looked around again. The snow was melting in strange patterns around the drones. Heat signatures without flame. The terrain itself was being rewritten. Your kind isn't supposed to exist anymore. The Frostfang project was a dead file. And yet I exist, she said. That should concern you more than it comforts. He holstered his weapon. A pointless gesture. We studied humans. We cataloged your extinction-level thresholds. You shouldn't have survived what we did to your colonies. We didn't survive, she said. We adapted. We turned the end into the beginning. Kron's voice lowered. You're not human anymore. No, she admitted. but I remember being one. A drone turned to face him directly, its optics glowing briefly. He held up a hand. I don't intend to fight. I know, she said. You've already lost. He exhaled through clenched teeth. What happens when you run out of enemies? Her response came immediately. We don't. The galaxy makes new ones daily. Kron nodded once, slowly. You're not just a weapon. You're a warning. I'm a consequence, she said. Nothing more. There was no pride in her voice. No malice. Just truth. That unnerved him more than any weapon. He watched as she raised her hand again, and the drones reconfigured, shifting into a formation that matched no known pattern. A spiral that pulsed with light, sending a wave through the snowfield. He checked his HUD again. It had rebooted. For a second, he saw the uplink reestablish. Coordinates, status feeds, mission logs, all sent without his consent. Then it went dead once more. She had allowed him one signal. One pulse. Enough to ensure the message had left the ice. What did you send them, he asked. Reality, she replied. Nothing else speaks loud enough. He tried to understand what she was. A soldier? A creation? A legacy? But all of those were partial. She was the sum of every lesson Earth had been forced to learn the hard way. Every betrayal. Every invasion. Every time humanity had been told it was too weak to stand. Kron took a breath, one hand open in surrender. Then finish it. She didn't move. There's nothing left to finish. You'll leave. You'll tell them. And they'll come again. He nodded. And next time, she turned slightly. There are others. He realized then that she wasn't unique. Not anymore. She was a system. A template. And her presence meant the program had succeeded, had scaled, had spread. You'll bring war, he said. No, she replied. You already did. We're just making sure it ends differently next time. Kron looked at the frozen horizon. No longer silent. Distant shapes moved. Too many to count. Not drones. Not soldiers. Patterns. Sentries. Echoes. The girl began walking again, her form swallowed by light and shadow. He watched until she was gone. Then he turned, and he ran, not in fear, but because now he understood his role. He wasn't meant to stop anything. He was meant to carry it forward, to ignite the panic, to awaken the caution, to deliver the warning no data file could match. Behind him, the mountain changed. The cold no longer natural. The silence no longer passive. Something else had taken hold. Something that didn't need to announce itself with ships or fleets. Earth's message was simple. We are not gone. We are not helpless. We are waiting.